everybody, and welcome to Wendy's Witness. In these days and times, we see a lot of confusion. People want to redefine what a man is, what a woman is. Anytime you see confusion or an identity crisis, you can pinpoint the origin. God is a God of order. He has told us who we are. The devil, however, he brings chaos, division, confusion, and lies. This is nothing new. The last thing the devil wants is for us to recognize the power and authority we have and to live according to the precepts given to us. Because in doing so, we become a powerhouse Christian who turns the world upside down. Keep watching today, and let's start with the basics. When a man and a woman love each other and decide to get married, two become one. God's great design, we see it everywhere we look, and we know if we want things to go according to His plan, we must abide by the practices He ordains. But why should we? Because Father knows best. Some of y'all might recall that show. It was actually before my time, like 1950s, but I remember watching it, so it must have been on rerun. Anyway, what's the message of Father knows best? Let me read it to you, what it says online. The children were expected to be respectful, obedient, and responsible. In conclusion, the father was the head of the household, responsible for providing for and protecting his family, while the mother played a supporting role in the family. I believe if you ask most people, they'd say that's an outdated concept. But the Bible is the authority, and God's ways are the best ways. So let's check and see what He says. Remember, start with the basics. Genesis 2:18. Then the Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper corresponding to him." And in Genesis 2:21 through 24. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to come over the man, and he slept. God took one of his ribs and closed the flesh at that place. Then the Lord God made the rib he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds with his wife, and they become one flesh." So to highlight, God created man, gave him a job to do and a command. Then God makes woman. Here we see clearly two genders only, male and female, and an identity set forth for each role. When we lose sight of our God-given roles, things go haywire. Exhibit A. Who's the one having the conversation with the serpent? Who should have stepped in and shut it down? Adam was a bystander instead of a stand taker. So let's discuss what it means to be a spiritual leader. As a spiritual leader, that man is a buffer between the enemy and the family he's been given. His role is to protect. The spiritual leader guards and guides his family in daily disciplines that grow them spiritually. A spiritual leader sets expectations, managing the household, provides an environment conducive to godliness. And when the enemy tries to twist the truth, he steps up and does the talking. What happens when there's no spiritual leader, or it's the wife who's taking the family to church, saying the prayer before meals, initiating the devotional time, speaking up to say, "Hey, we probably shouldn't watch that, need to turn that program off." In other words, performing the duties of spiritual leader in the household. Well, then you're operating in the capacity you weren't made for. So how can you realign and put things back in the proper place? Start small. Ask your husband's advice on spiritual matters and let him know you respect him and his opinions. Try to engage in conversations that build confidence. Continue in your faith, setting an example by your own words and actions. And finally, persist in prayer. I mentioned last week the enemy has targeted our children, but he's also targeted the institute of marriage. When we step out of our God-given roles, we step into the trap set before us by the devil. The scene set in the garden depicts the disastrous results of a marriage out of order. We want the devil to know we are joined in faith as man and woman, husband and wife, adhering to our God-given roles. A whole generation has passed away since the 1950s Father Knows Best audience. And now we see something that sounds a lot more like 2 Timothy chapter 3. But know this, hard times will come in the last days. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, demeaning, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, unloving, irreconcilable, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, without love for what is good, traitors, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding to the form of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid these people. For among them are those who worm their way into households and deceive gullible women overwhelmed by sins and led astray by a variety of passions, always learning and never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. God has a chain of command, and He is a God of order. And Father still knows best. Thanks for watching. God bless you. I'll see you next week, and remember, we are all witnesses.